Hi everyone, it's Stephanie here and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be creating two winter themed cards and we're going to be using the Serene Snowflakes stamp set, which I have here on screen, along with the new impressive thank you Die-namics. So this is the thank you outline die. This is going to die cut the word thank you if you want to have it completely die cut out. And then this here is the new impressive thank you. This is a hot foil die. It's not meant to cut. This die is going to work with your hot foil machine and create some beautiful foiled letterpress designs. And you can see the difference in the two dies when I have them both on screen. The impressive dies are a dark gray silver color, whereas our normal dies are a lighter color. To use the impressive dies to create a foiled effect, you're going to need a foiling machine. So I have the Gemini foil press here, and this is a hot foiling machine, and I'm just going to go ahead and turn it on with the switch on the side and then press the button to turn it fully on. And while that heats up, I just want to quickly go over how these dies work. So these foil machines, so the Gemini foil press that I'm using here, uses thermal foil, which is a foil that transfers images using a hot foil stamping method that requires heat and pressure. So these are not the same as toner reactive foils that we are used to using that use toner to set the foil. So with this special die and this machine, we're able to create a really cool foiled look that not only has the foiling detail, but also looks like letterpress as well. So I have a couple rolls of foil here. This is the foil that works with this machine. Like I mentioned, you do need a thermal foil for this to work. And I'm going to specifically use the silver for the two card designs we're going to create, but I am going to show you how it looks with the gold foil as well. So to do the foiling, the first thing I want to figure out is how much foil I actually need to fit over the die shape. And you want to do this because any extra foil that you kind of have around the edges is probably going to stick to the paper when you run it through the machine. And I will show you how to fix that if it does happen. But to kind of alleviate that, I'm going to trim the foil down a little bit. And I know that this machine is ready to go now because that green light just came on. It switched from red to green, and this is a hot surface, so you want to be very careful. And I did set that timer there to 15 seconds. If you read the book for whatever foiling machine you happen to be using, it should give you a rough idea of how long you need to heat set it and what temperature it needs to be at. So since we're only doing paper, it needs to be at the lowest setting, and 15 seconds is going to be long enough to heat set that and get it ready to go to do the foiling. So I don't know if you can tell on screen, but there's little grid lines on the base of that foiling mat, and I'm using those to kind of line up where I'm putting the thank you, and then I'm going to use it as a guide to figure out where I want to put the cardstock panel. I'm not going to die cut this word, I'm just going to foil and letterpress it right into my panel, so I kind of want to make sure I have it exactly where I want it. So to set it up to do the foiling, you'll want to put your die first facing up, you'll want to put your foil facing down, so the shiny side facing towards the die, and then lay your panel directly on top of that. Once you have that all on there, you're going to take the other plate that goes with this machine and you're going to lay it directly on top. Now this is designed to work specifically with the Gemini Junior die cutting machine, so I am going to kind of move this aside and bring my die cutting machine in here so that I can run this through and do the foiling. So you're just going to remove this from the base of the foil machine, and then you're going to put it right into the opening of the Gemini Junior, and it's going to grab onto that and pull it all the way through. And while it's going through, it's applying the pressure, which is going to help to foil that because we already have the heat on it as well. So I have it back on screen here, and I did put the foiling base back into the machine so it can heat up once again. And I'm going to remove that thank you die with the tweezers. It is going to be hot, so you're not going to want to touch it right away. And I'm going to set this aside so that we can look at the foiling. So you can see when I flip the panel over, we can see that thank you word through the foil. I'm going to very carefully lift it off, and it's going to reveal that full thank you that we've kind of impressed into the paper with the foil. It is beautiful in real life. It has so much shine, and the indentation really gives it that cool letterpress look. It looks super professional, and it's going to look beautiful on any type of thank you card. And like I mentioned earlier, you may find that some of the extra foil around the die sticks to the paper a little bit. I have my mono eraser here, and if you just take that and kind of lightly rub over any of the areas where the foil has kind of impressed onto the paper, it's going to easily remove that, and you're never going to know it was there. So let's go through the process one more time. I'm going to use that same thank you die, and I'm going to place it back onto my machine. I have let this fully come to the proper heat, and I'm going to take my foil. I have it trimmed down already to roughly the same size as my die. I'm going to place it upside down, so shiny side against the die. And then I'm going to take my panel and place that over top, and I am using the grid lines to kind of line this up. I want to create a portrait style card this time, so I did turn that panel. And then I'm going to put the final plate over top and run this back through my Gemini Junior. And when I peel off the foil this time, we're going to end up with that beautiful thank you with foil and that letterpress detail. And we have it in the center of the panel so we can see the entire word. I did get a little bit onto the paper, so once again I used my mono eraser and just very lightly went over those areas to remove that excess foil. Before we turn these two panels into cards, I did want to show you how this looks with the gold foil because it's a completely different look. You get that beautiful shiny gold detail and once again that letterpress look. This is absolutely beautiful and I would love this just as it is. I think it's elegant and would work really well just on its own. Okay, so now we're going to create cards with the two panels that we created. So I have the Serene Snowflake stamp set and I have my Misty stamping tool and I just laid out a bunch of snowflakes on the top area of this panel. I already knew going into this design that I wanted to have the thank you kind of going off the bottom and then have some snowflake detail along the top and a little bit down the sides. So once I had all the snowflakes placed where I wanted them, I took my Versamark ink and I'm just adding that ink to all of the stamps and pressing down on that panel. Versamark is a clear sticky ink that's going to allow us to do some embossing on the panel and then we can add some ink to create some ink resist to create a really cool look. I want the snowflakes to appear white once we add the ink over top, so I am going to emboss them with white embossing powder. I'm just going to quickly tap on all of that embossing powder to cover all of the snowflakes. And you can kind of see as I tilt the panel here, the powder sticking to where we've done the stamping. I'm going to take this to my heat tool and heat set it, and it's going to set those snowflakes into the background so we can start to add our ink. So for this first design, I wanted to use shades of purple. I'm using the Dusty Concord, which is a really deep shade of purple here, and I'm just very slowly going over the areas with the snowflakes. I really want to keep the ink concentrated just where the snowflakes are and then kind of let it fade off as I make my way down the panel. So I'm just going to go around the entire thing and decided I wanted to add a little bit of blue in here as well. So I'm using the Chipped Sapphire, which is a very dark blue color, so you want to take your time and use a very light hand. And I'm just mixing the two shades together over all of the areas where we have the embossed snowflakes. And like I mentioned, I don't want to do any of the ink blending kind of over where that word is, and I want it to fade as we make our way towards the bottom. So I just kind of used my ink blending tool with a little bit of ink on it and just went over the bottom area to kind of fade it out into the white. Once I was happy with how the ink blending looked, I took a paper towel and went over all of the snowflakes. And you can see when we do that, we remove any of that ink that's kind of sitting on top, and the bright white of the snowflakes comes through all of that color. One last final detail I want to do on this is take some water and sprinkle it over top of the distress ink. This ink reacts with water, so you end up with this really cool effect in the background where it kind of looks like snow. I just thought it looked really nice paired with those stamped snowflakes. So now moving on to the second panel, I've already done the stamping on this one. I did it the exact same way. I just kind of positioned all of my snowflakes where I wanted them. And now I'm going to go in with some blue shades of ink. So the first color I have here is Peacock Feathers, which is kind of a bright aqua color. And I'm going to concentrate this right over top of the snowflakes. Once again, like I did on the purple one, making sure to not really cover up any of the areas where I have the foiled word. I'm going to quickly go around this entire panel until I have all of the ink on here. And you're going to see when I get to the bottom, I didn't originally stamp a snowflake at the very bottom. I was kind of going for the same look as the purple design where we had the snowflakes across the top and down the sides. But I realized on this panel, I liked the idea better of having the snowflakes kind of going around the entire panel. So once I get the inking fully on here and see that white space that I've kind of created, I decided to go ahead and stamp an additional snowflake, heat emboss it with the same white embossing powder, and then I'm going to come back and ink up that area as well. And I was much happier with the final look. I think it looks a lot better having that blue going all the way around the entire panel. Now to brighten up the snowflakes a bit, I decided to come in with some Chipped Sapphire once again. And you're going to see on this panel it takes on a completely different look since we're blending it with the blue versus the purple on the first card. And for this one, I wanted the Chipped Sapphire to kind of be in the center area of the snowflakes. So I'm not going around the entire panel and covering all of the aqua. I'm just kind of concentrating some dark color into the center of the snowflakes, and I think it brings them to life and really makes them pop off of the panel. Once again, I'm going to use that paper towel and go over all of the snowflakes to remove the ink that's sitting on top, and it's going to bring those bright white snowflakes through to the front. I originally put these onto white cardstock panels, but you can see in the final photo that I did change that and put them onto dark panels. I didn't really love the look. I felt like they looked kind of washed out against the white. So against the darker panels, I really think the colors looked a lot more vibrant. To finish them off, I used silver stickles and added some stickle detail to the center of the snowflakes. And I also added some little dots of stickles throughout the blue card as well, just to add a little bit more sparkle and shine. And that is going to complete our two cards. We have the beautiful foil detail that we created with our impressive thank you die. And then we have all of those beautiful embossed snowflakes around the edges of the blue card and concentrated on the top and sides of our purple card. I hope you enjoyed today's video and got some ideas on ways that you can use our new impressive thank you die. I'm so excited to be able to create these beautiful foiled looks to create different thank you cards for all sorts of occasions. As always, I appreciate you being here for another video, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks so much for watching.